hit the subscribe button and get ready for unfiltered conversations. This is Unfiltered Therapist, and we're about to break barriers, embrace growth, and invite you to join in this journey of true, authentic self-discovery. Let's do this. Hi, Newman.
Hello.
I am very happy we were able to make this work. I feel like every episode I film on here, something tech-wise goes sideways. So thank you for being patient as we try to set this up. And I hope that when we are done recording this, everyone can hear us clearly.
For sure.
I am super excited to have you because you are my first guest that's kind of like an interesting way that I've like met you and brought you into this community. So for everyone in background, Newman owns a clothing brand called Sinners2Saints. And through Christmas, I went to multiple Christmas markets, as one does. In Saskatoon Farm was one of them. And then I was at Market Collective in Calgary. And I kept seeing Sinners2Saints clothing. And I noticed that the brand had so much intertwining of like mental health topics and empowerment. And I was like, this is so cool. So found Newman and told him I loved his stuff and wanted to learn more about like where this started and why. And he was open to coming and talking on here.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for coming.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks for having me. Yeah.
Of course. Why don't we start? Can you tell us all more about the brand and what Sinners2Saints stands for? And yeah, just like anything in that realm.
Oh, okay. So yeah, once again, thanks for having me. Really, really appreciate that. Like you said, yeah, we met at the market. She sees us everywhere. We're trying to pop up everywhere to serve. So we're in most of the markets out there. And what the main goal of the brand is just to spread positivity, and then inspire us all to be better. So I'm just using the clothing as a canvas to relay messages and stuff that will lift our spirits up. Know that, hey, even though you may be going through some flaws or some issues or whatever, don't stay stuck in the past all the time. Just know that, life is a journey, and know that every step that nothing is really new to you. Like whatever has happened to you, trust me, somebody has gone through that. And when we inspire each other and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, things will get better. So it's the clothing brand merely an inspirational brand to inspire us all to be better and acknowledge that, hey, you're not alone in the flaw that you're dealing with. Someone that we've been through that, somebody has that experience, and we help each other to grow. So yeah, that's pretty much what the brand is about.
I remember seeing a tag on, I believe it was one of the sweatshirts, and it had a sentence or a saying, something about like past, present, future. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
What does it say? What does it say? Because I remember reading it and being like, "Ooh, I love that."
Yeah, so it says on the past. No, acknowledge the past. Design for the present to inspire the future.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Where did that come from for you, and what does that mean to you?
Oh, as I'll say, as most of my stuff comes from inspiration, like inspiration from God to be specific. Like we all been through issues in the past that we wish we would just delete it, like, and never ever happen. So most people, we really hold on to the past and judge ourselves like really harshly and keep going on that cycle over and over. And in that way, we get stuck in the past, ignoring it totally that it didn't happen. You won't do yourself much of a service either. So acknowledging that, okay, I messed up here, this went wrong. Not like picking the lessons from it will do you much more better, like going into the future. So acknowledging that it happens, you went through that, whatever you went through, that flaw, that mistake, that whatever you did in the past, it happened. Take the lesson from it. That's designing the present. You got to orchestrate the present, take steps. If it's going to therapy, like you're doing, helping people out there, acknowledging that, okay, here, this is my life now. This is the lessons I learned from the past. Let me design my present right now, just so my future self can benefit from it. So in that way, you're inspiring the future on your walk. So it's a whole thread. Don't just alt delete the past, take the lesson from it. That's you acknowledging it, because just like anything, let's say even this building that you're in or that I'm in, if I'm just renting the space right now, I don't have the legal rights to break down stuff, to change stuff.
Right.
But if I own it, hey, I can decide that I don't want the background to be this color. Let me change it to blue. Let me break this down, change this to like a kitchen or an office. You have that freedom by owning it. So
Ooh.
you owning the past, it does you more like you have the power in you to kind of change and modify stuff, and that can influence the present to inspire your future self. Yeah.
I have never heard that analogy, and I freaking love it.
Thank you.
Owning the past is like owning a property. If you own
Yes.
the property, you
Mhm.
can change what you want about it. You can make it your own. You can
For
make it
sure.
work for you. If
Yep.
you are a passenger in a property or just hanging out in a property, you are a product of the environment that you're in, and you can't do anything with it except just be there. So I love the idea of like looking at owning your past in the same way of like owning actual like tangible things. It's
For
very different.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, I love
Hmm.
that.
Thank you.
So curious. Did you always have a like creative personality? Did you always want to do clothing? Like, how did you end up making a clothing brand?
Okay. That always takes me to the past there, which I like. So I grew up in Ghana, right? And just like everybody knows, like back home, back in Africa and all that, we take fashion a little bit more serious than over here.
Yes.
So yeah, we pay particular attention to what we wear and all that. My dad, back in the day, he was a minister. Every Sunday, we got to get dressed up. Everywhere that we went, he was really particular about what we wore, and make sure we looked apart, so we're always well dressed. He was always well dressed, and his presentation and his hosting and everything that he was doing was always put together right. So I think that subconsciously always made me pay attention to what I wore, and the message I'm trying to relate, like, or how people will perceive you when you go outside. If you want to be accepted in a certain way, you have to dress that way for you to be embraced. Unfortunately, it might be a good or bad thing, but that's how the human mind works, right? So I've had that in mind always, to be kind of picky. I was a really picky person on what I chose to wear, and then but nothing about like creating or being in this position to create a brand. It was always on the consumer side of me, picking but my friends noticed that, so everything that I wore, that always started conversations on Meetup. Oh man, what's this design? This is cool. I can relate to this and that. And they literally will be buying it from me. They're like, nah, this is not leaving my house. No, I need this. Can you do that? So I was always like, even buying like, let's say, all those designer stuff, but then I'll modify it, either buying from this brand or that brand, but I'll add some sauce to it, or I'll put a message here and there that I relate with, you know. But when I take it out, they are more interested in those messages and those little details and designs, and I still didn't pick it up as something that I should be pursuing, right? But I was there once. I remember like 3 years ago when the name just hit me out of the blue, like Sinners2Saints. Like, ooh, I like that. Like that kind of slaps. It has a ring to it, like Sinners2Saints. That is cool. And I've always liked stuff around like um things that has depth, like let's say historical facts or
Mm.
designs or that has this meaning. I was always like wearing stuff like that or having art pieces like that. So looking at my life and what I've been through and what I've witnessed growing up, to take you back a little bit, my dad also was always bringing people that were dealing with addictions and struggling with this or that, and brought him to a home. So we had a big home there that housed a whole lot of people, and it will walk them through their recovery and treat them and all that. They end up being like pillars of society back there. Some have become like counselors, they become ministers, they become like really good and useful people in the society. even not to go that personal, even my own brother, like my own big brother was dealing with addictions and stuff, and is now one of the biggest counselors there back in Ghana. So I've witnessed that trajectory of people moving from their not so proud self to the best version they could be when they're given the right inspiration or the right guidance, because we are quick to delete people, just know that, oh, this person did this in the past, so he's of no use. No, humans have the ability to transform and change. So, and I've seen that. Even my own life, I was dealing with certain struggles in the past, and I was a little of a wild guy in the past and all that. But and I've witnessed how close, like growing up now that I've gotten more closer to God. I've always had a heart turning back to God. So that journey from I'll say our not so proud self to our best version of ourselves, which is like sinners to saints. Like everybody is involved in that. Like the brand cuts across all faiths, every belief, every human can relate to that journey. Why and those messages that we put on the clothing. So that kind of inspired me to take on this and then design stuff. Mainly inspirational stuff to help us all on our journey in life and also learn from people as well. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that you also said like it is not just about a certain faith base or religion. Like
mhm.
this is across the board, because I do think that like, sinners and saints, the words sinner and saint have so much like context and depth. And I think that one of the things that we talk about often is like the duality of being in two different extremes and recognizing like that nothing that's that extreme is trustworthy or real. And
Yeah.
I think that in a lot of ways, people think that if they've ever made mistakes in the past, that they will never be able to be anything different in the future because that
Hmm.
will follow them. And
Yes.
this idea that like you are allowed to change and you have permission to be viewed as the type of person you want to be if you are willing to own where you were and where you want to be. And so
Yes.
I actually like that, like, in some ways, when you hear that whole name, Sinners to Saints, and I agree, it has like a very nice ring to it. I'm like, yeah, that does slap. It's a good name.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, okay, I can like see how we're talking about change, progress, the right to be who we want to
Hmm.
be. Um,
Hmm.
I wonder, like, there's a lot in your brand that I noticed where like there's a lot of therapy language, hence
Yes.
caught my attention at a market. Um,
Uh-huh.
have you had experience with therapy in your own life? Like, has that been an inspiration for a lot of this, or is that just things that you've learned in other contexts in your life?
Yeah, that is a great question. I've used a therapist once. And
Mm.
that was, yeah, that was, during a really dark time in my life. That was when I lost my dad. So, about 3 years ago now. So, that was the very first time I went through a really dark time with so many questions and regrets and all that because I haven't been back home in a bit. And every time that I had plans to go, hey, I'll be like, I'm familiar with home. Let me rather go to Mexico or let me
Yeah.
go to this other country, and I'll do that next year. So I kept postponing it, and then the unfortunate thing happened, and he transitioned. So I was living with so much regret and pain, and I was trying to handle it myself and not doing great with it. Combine that with life struggles already and all the stuff. So it was a dark time, and a friend of mine suggested me seeing a therapist to help, break things down and have more meaning to stuff. So after praying and doing all that, I consulted I found one in Calgary here that I was seeing for counseling and all that stuff. And it helped me greatly to get out of that dark space, right? So I really highly recommend guys, see a therapist if you're dealing with something. It really works,
Yeah, come see a therapist. We want to help.
Specifically Allegra, see her.
Yeah, come here. Come here. We want you. We love you.
Yeah.
I'm so curious then. So then when you dealt with the loss of your dad and then went
Mm,
to see a therapist, and obviously I can see that thread as I asked you this question, like in
mm.
your brand, where was Sinners to Saints in your life 3 years ago when you lost your dad. Was it something that you were already working on, or did it come after that?
No. It was what do you call it? Sinners2Saints came after. Oh, it was kind of a mixture.
Hmm.
Sinners2Saints, the name, me playing with the idea came way earlier in the year, but it's that same year I would say. So that was when I was throwing it around, putting it here and there on my own clothing and stuff, and people were reacting to it everywhere that I went. So I was kind of playing with the idea like for myself. Since this was only for me, selfishly. So,
It's mine.
but
No one else can have it.
so, but I saw the therapist like he went around June, so I started seeing the therapist get into the latter part of the year, right? So I would say most of the designs and stuff is all from life experiences, right? I have a design that you can, like most people, that it has like the mind with so many excuses in there. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, I'll start later. It's a really cool design. So it's all like uh, excuses that we normally give ourselves and not taking an action.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that design, I find that people gravitate to that a lot. But most of the designs is from life experiences, what I've witnessed, what I aspire to be, what others have shared with me, and all that stuff. And I try to put it artistically to help us on our journey, in life. So, yeah.
totally. Yeah, and it's so obvious, and I hope, we're definitely going to talk about where people can find your stuff, because I'm sure that people are going to be listening and go like, where the hell do I find this? Like, I want to see what you're talking about. So we will get there.
So,
I think there's something that we often talk about with grief, loss, I mean, any sort of major painful experience. And I often think that part of the healing can happen when we have purpose. Like, we have to find purpose with pain, something that it can make meaning from. And I think if you look at like the trajectory of like this being an idea, something you're like playing around with, you're going through a major change, like what an incredible example of taking an incredibly painful experience in your life
mhm.
and using something that you're passionate about to make meaning out of it, and how that experience got you to where you are now,
Yeah,
and the messaging that you're spreading. My guess is it lands so much better because you can feel that it's understood, it's
sure.
genuine, it's not
Yeah,
just words, it's experience, and
yes,
people feel that it's authentic.
for
It's
sure.
like the thing of like, I feel seen. And I think it's so fascinating to me that like a hoodie can catch your attention and be like, oh my gosh, the owner of this company must have life. Like, that was literally the way I read it. Oh my gosh, I need to find who owns this company, because this person clearly has experience that is being translated into something so beautiful and artistic.
Thank you.
So I hope, if nothing else, how inspiring that is for, not just myself, but other people who must just find your stuff and think like, way to take a lived experience and make something from it.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. The other part of your brand that I'm definitely noticing is you pull in a lot of culture. So obviously you immigrated, and there is definitely a lot of your culture integrated in such a cool way. How do you get inspired for like combining some of your cultural background into the designs that you have as well?
Yeah, so that part of it, yeah, you have really good eyes. You pick it up.
Try.
Yeah, so I try to infuse I would say the Ghanaian and the African culture in a few of the designs, to kind of, it's a way of acknowledging where you're from as well. And I try to, paint that artistically in a way that is, I'll say, for lack of a better word, palatable for everyone. So even if it's the African continent, using different elements in there that is relatable, people that love nature, people that love to travel, people that want to experience, give them a snippet of, the artistic nature of that place, which everybody, I highly recommend you travel there and see for yourself.
Yes.
It's so beautiful and all that. So like incorporating nature, incorporating culture, just all artistically, at the same time spreading the message of positivity and moving from not so proud self to the best version we can be. So I try to infuse all together for a cool piece that anyone can rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this
Mhm.
conversation just so fun fact, since I was a little kid, the only place that I was like, I must see is Africa. It's like, I like have this deep desire to go and spend some time and like go around the continent. And my husband and I always said that would be our honeymoon. And then we got married through COVID and weren't able to go. And we were going to go this year. And then I almost had a heart attack when I realized how expensive it's going to be to go.
That's
So I
true.
don't blame you for being like, man, I could just go to Mexico. Like, it's a little bit easier from here. Because holy moly. But I feel like one of the coolest things is like, you can see in your stuff, like the beauty of the culture and how much like, you know, I think if you talk to anyone who's come from Africa, there's always such like a pride and love in the culture that you, like, how does it, like, how could anyone not want to go and experience it? Like, it seems so colorful and beautiful. So I am so envious of that. This actually roots back to, I'm going to go backwards in the conversation.
No problem.
My ADHD is going to win this one. But you were talking about like the guilt and shame or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas of like, I could have gone back and seen my dad. I should have gone back and, you know, done this more frequently, but I went to other places. There's a really interesting phenomenon that happens with people who have immigrated to a new country somewhere in their lives that still have family back home. And what I often see is that people feel immense guilt or shame for going to other places on their time off or having vacation time or the financial ability to travel and not going home to see their families. And a lot of people that feel stuck in this loop of being like, I really want to go and see more of the world, but I also feel like I am a bad son, cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever.
Yes, I am.
Right? If I don't go home. And I would love to know, because clearly you've been able to go and see other things. And I have many a client who can't. What advice would you give to people who are like, I feel like anytime I have the money or the time, I have to go back home and see my family, but I also have a desire to see other things. What would you say to them?
I'll say don't be like me. Yes, when you get a chance, go. But one thing you should know that is the familiarity. Anything that you're familiar with, you tend to relegate. You know, you put it on the side. Oh, I'm cool with this. Let me just put it on the side. I know what it's all about. Like I've seen it all. But what I'll say is at least have a plan and don't let them miss you too much. And at the same time, too, if you want to do some investments or some businesses and stuff, it's good for you to be going back on I would say on a regulated time, like, oh, okay, every 2 years or every year or whatever, you have a consistent step. And that way it forces you to, or maybe get your tickets like way ahead of time where you can, at least have some good deals around that. But at the same time, you can also incorporate your travels, like incorporate your mission there going there, like with other cool stuff there. Because my next plan is when I go back to visit, I'm gonna visit all the other cool countries around. So in that way, the trip doesn't feel like I only went home. I can stop by Zanzibar, I can stop by this place or that place, and so at least you can have the full experience of the whole thing and not feel like you haven't seen anywhere else apart from home, right? So yeah.
I mean, I can't think of many places in the world that you can't go quote unquote home to and not integrate also having the fun parts of travel at the same time. I mean, it's there's lots to see and do. I love that. And I also like the idea of like scheduling, like I'm going to go home every second year, and then the years in between I'm going to go somewhere else. And you know, if my family's able to meet me there, great. If they can't, that's okay. I'll see them next year or something like that. But having permission for that, and you know, for yourself too, I hope that you give yourself the want to do more and think that we have so much time. Like I can do that. I have time, and we get so caught up in feeling guilt for the time that we should have taken. But hindsight's 2020. I mean, this is
sure.
game. It's you win some, you lose some, but no matter what you do, there's always parts of us that feel like the grass is greener.
Sure, that's
on
true.
Whatever choice we didn't make.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
When you think about the future of Sinners to Saints, what in your mind is the ideal outcome? What would you love to see happen?
Everybody wearing it in the entire world. Why not?
Everyone has it.
Why not? So we have what do you call it? I envision it being that go-to brand, in your everyday staple, knowing that you go into your closet, see this design or this clothing that automatically switches your mood, into feeling better and also having a different perspective of whatever you're dealing with. Go outside there, what do you call it, impact people by just what you're wearing, so having better enriched conversations with people about life, being a conversation starter, inspirational piece that you always go to, that you love to wear, which is like the common testimony of people that shop with us. Like they always go like, oh, I received so many compliments, or it made me really feel good about this or that, those. And I envision it to be in every city, every major city around the world, at least will have what do you call it, a shop or a go-to place that people can go interact with people and all. The online is great, we ship globally everywhere, but at the same time, that physical shop location, I want to see it in every city, so at least we can impact people directly, create that community worldwide as well. So.
Really. Do you guys have a storefront yet?
We did. We were part of a collective, the core, but we just moved from there the beginning of the year. We're working on one right now close to the Chinook area, so which will
Oh,
be,
cool.
yeah, which will be ready soon. So for now, it's all online and in markets, where we get to meet cool people like you.
Markets are not, I love markets for all of these reasons because,
Yeah.
maybe I'm out in Okotoks if you're opening a shop that's like near like Chinook Mall. So for people that aren't familiar with like the Calgary Okotoks area, that's probably a good like 30, 40-ish minute drive.
Mm.
Um, I might not have found you. So markets are a great place of like expanding, awareness
For
nonetheless.
sure, for sure.
I think that you just spoke to something really interesting, which was the connection between like what we wear and the way that we feel. So, what do you like if someone was to say like, what is the connection between fashion and mental health? What would you say?
It's the perfect marriage between the two.
Yeah.
there's, there's a reason why we have look good, feel good.
Mhm.
That applies to everybody, even the people that go like, oh, they're not fashion conscious. When you dress good, you step outside and like not even you yourself looking at yourself in the mirror, knowing that, oh, you dress apart today, or you're looking clean, and whatever you're wearing or what you're wearing has some substance out there, and you go outside and meet with people, all the stuff, like it has something that it affects you mentally. There's a psychological effect. So even during the COVID time that we're all wearing like whatever, like working from home, doing all that stuff, on days that you put yourself together well, dress well, you recognize your productivity, shooting up, and we, like it or not, people will judge you by what you wear. For sure, we can't help it, whether it's good or, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But you, but you wearing stuff that you're being perceived in a certain way and being treated in a certain way is something that mentally will either boost you up or bring you down. So I would say just whatever you're wearing, it could be a luxury stuff or simple stuff or whatever, just feel good. You yourself feel good in it first, and then whatever comes, whether the compliments or whatever comes is extra, right? And I'm yet to see someone who, what do you call it, doesn't get affected by compliments. I haven't seen anybody who goes like, oh, I received 20 compliments today and I hate it so bad,
Yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah, yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to like tie in that from what I saw, at least in the markets that I saw your stuff in, like a lot of your clothing is like comfortable clothing too. Like it's sweatshirts, it's t-shirts, it's not necessarily that it's like, button ups and dressed to the nine. And I think that sometimes what we fail to remember is that looking and feeling your best doesn't mean that you have to look like you're like gonna walk a runway. It's like the clothing that you feel the most comfortable in
Yes.
is going to help you embody the person that you feel most comfortable being. So there is, I don't know, man, maybe this is just a me thing, but like I have like certain hoodies that are my favorite hoodies. And when I wear those hoodies, I may as well be wearing a ball gown because I feel like $1 billion in that hoodie. It's comfortable. It fits in all the right ways. I like
Yeah.
the design of it, the color of it. And like, I'm sad when I wear it because then I have to do laundry again and wait till I can wear it. Like,
Mm.
it's not that you have to be wearing crazy expensive clothing or anything that's like form fitting necessarily. It's just things that make you feel good, that you're proud of, that like make
Yeah.
a big difference. So
Oh,
I love that like you can see how the idea of like walking into your closet and grabbing something that makes you feel good to wear has an impact on how you'll feel the entire day.
yes, it does. It does. Like it's just an opportunity for self-expression, right?
Yeah.
In a way that you can want on the values that you align with or things you aspire to be, right? So I may wear something that says what do you call it? Things to grow. For example, that's one of the designs that we have there, which talks about humility, acceptance, and all that. Like all those attributes, just seeing that helps you, switch your mindset up to something more positive or something you can look up to or work towards, right? And then when you go out there and, people read it off you, maybe you're just doing your thing, going about your day normally, and then somebody goes like, oh, I like that. This message speaks to me. You're impacting and doing good without not even recognizing that, right? So that small chain of, creating a circle of positivity helps in the long run. If we could all do that, wear stuff that have meaning, we're like it or not, like we're all conscious about everything that we put in our body, put on. We pay particular attention about the food we eat, what we put on our body, what we do, all that. So why not, put the time and effort in there and make sure like what you're putting on your body, which you love so much, give it a thought in whatever you wear and make sure like, hey, this has a message that resonates with me, that inspires me. At the same time, it can inspire other people as well, right? So yeah, it's a conscious way of living. We should be conscious about everything.
Yeah. Have you had any criticism from people about wanting to do a clothing brand or the brand itself?
Oh, and you mean criticism?
Yeah.
Um, Not really. I haven't had any negative. I would say, that's a good question. Let me think a little bit. I think one time one lady met me at a market and mentioned that she doesn't she doesn't want to be reminded of sinners, or she doesn't want to see the word sinners or something. She just
Mm,
wanted to see saints, So that gave me a good time. We spent a lot of time. We spent about probably like 20, 30 minutes of just, trying to break it down and explain to her, like, okay, we can't ignore that. That goes back to what you were, what do you call it, the slogan or the tagline
yeah,
that
yeah.
we really liked. I'm like, yeah, it's a strong word, but at the same time, it's a good reminder, right? And it gives you humility as well. So as far as you may think you may be thinking, oh, I'm all saintly, I'm all about
Hmm.
good stuff, I only do good. That's you deceiving yourself
Oh, yeah.
because yeah, we all have flaws. Nobody is perfect, right? So you acknowledging that will give you that humility, inspires you when you're dealing with your issues. At the same time, when you have attained whatever measure or standard that you want to be at, that reminder that, hey, I used to deal with this in the past. It gives you that empathy when you're dealing with other people. At the same time, it gives you that humility when you're relating to others. You won't see anybody who has gone from homeless to being rich or being
Hmm.
wealthy or whatever, looking at a homeless person and looking down on them. And that reflection from the past in the way it gives you that humility, coming from whatever you're struggling with to the top. That's why the best counselors or therapists are people that have been through issues.
Yeah.
They know they've seen the roadmap, and they've learned from it, or they've heard stories from other people that they've learned from, So there's always that dichotomy between the two, and you can't just ignore the past there, So this, yeah, we had a good conversation. She got it, and she was grateful. So opportunities like that, I like that because it just opens up for people's perception. You know how they're receiving or what the questions they have. Like, and I'm open to stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that's a good question there.
Yeah. It's a good example too. It is. It really is. If you met someone walking down the street and they told you that they had an idea to start a business, but they didn't know, if they should or how to go about it, and you could give them 2 sentences of advice, what would you say to them?
Okay. I would congratulate them for first having that thought,
Yeah.
because it doesn't come to everybody,
No.
So starting the business, I would say first, uh, know your why. Why do you want to do it?
Mm,
If you have the why cemented in your head firmly, that's what is going to carry you through the road. That road is challenging. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make it look like it's all fanfare. It is challenging, especially delving in an endeavor where you don't have the formal, like going to, let's say, a fashion school in New York or whatever to have those basics. You have to be learning as you go. So, and it could get some days you will be like, why the heck am I doing this? I could be doing A, B, C, D, especially if you have other stuff going on
right.
that is giving you all those monetary gains and all that. You'll easily close that chapter and rather go with the routine, right? But if you know why you started it in the first place, that's what you fall back on in those dark times. So I'll say spend a lot of time on your why, right? And cement it firmly in your head. That, like for us, for instance, like this is something relatable to my life and what I've witnessed growing up, and I've seen the impact or trajectory of people moving from their not so proud self to the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's more of a calling for me, right? Because it just dropped in my heart, but I would say by divine intervention, to say the least. Yeah. So mine is flawed or powered by life experiences and
Yeah.
where I want to be in the future. So my why is strong enough to make me go on, even if there's a sale or there's no sale or I'm dealing with
Yeah.
stuff or whatever. Like it's strong enough. So
Huge.
spend time cement, like have your why cemented firmly, and then maybe the secondly will be take everything as a learning experience. Just know,
Mm.
yeah, like everything is all learning experience. Whether
Yeah.
you come out, don't overthink it. Like I came from a background, engineering background, where everything is all we have to what do you call it? We overanalyze in detail because any flaw could lead to disaster. So everything is very detailed and all that, and that normally keeps me going on and on about something that maybe a design or whatever. I keep remodifying, wasting so much time. So build a team around you that know those I would say flaws, quote unquote, that will push you to. So some of them I show it to them like, oh, look at this design. If they like it, they're like, okay, let's get it out there, or let's do this. Like get people around you that compliment you,
Yeah.
right? So you don't overthink it. Just jump into it and keep growing. I'm sure this podcast before you started, you may probably be thinking of a whole lot of stuff, lightning, speaker, microphone, and all that. And if you're like, without not starting, you would never know what to modify. So just jump into it and keep modifying as you go and keep growing. And we appreciate
Yeah.
the growth anyways. So
I
yeah.
mean, I have to say, like, I work with a lot of people who are either like early in entrepreneurship or struggling with entrepreneurship. And you really just hit the nail on the head with the things that we often talk about being like the foundations of getting you from point A to point B. Why? Understanding the why, staying attached to the why, hyper focused on it. Every failure is a lesson or every experience is a lesson. Do not think of it any other way. It's not going to go
Yes.
perfectly, but there's a rhyme and reason for everything. Surround yourself with people who are your cheerleaders and encouraging you and like see your vision and your why. And
Mm,
then don't wait until things are perfectly set up. Just do, and then make changes as you need to. And
for
eventually
sure.
you'll be further ahead than you were if you had just waited to try and find a perfect time, which
Mm,
doesn't exist.
for sure.
So
You,
yeah,
you
absolutely
summarized it perfectly.
nailing it. Like, and I love it because I find that oftentimes people who have been able to kind of like get themselves out of that like first rut of being like, I have an idea, but I don't know what to do with it. I'd say those 4 things end up being like a foundational part for everyone. So I love the affirmation that that's absolutely where you see it
Thank
as
you.
well. It's huge. So as we kind of wrap up here, Newman, if people want to learn more, they want to see your stuff, they want to buy your stuff, what do they do? Where do they go? What should they know?
Oh, okay. So we have our Instagram pages, the Sinners2Saints. You can give us a follow there. We put most of the links in our bio. We have our website, which is the Sinners2Saints.com. We put upcoming events on our website as well. So we have where we're going to be at the markets and all that. Like our market season is starting in February. So we have what do you call it, Chinook Blast coming up. We're going to
Okay.
be there. We have ethnic festivals that's going to come up too at the Telus Convention Center.
Oh, cool.
So we'll put all those information on our upcoming events page on our website. So you can see where we're going to be if you want to meet in person or see the stuff in person. That's an opportunity for you to do that. But yeah, we're active on Instagram. We're trying to catch up on all the TikToks and all that.
Same, I know. I don't know. I wish I could figure out TikTok too. We made an account. I need to. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So much to learn.
We'll get there.
Get there. We'll figure it out. Yeah, and you know what? I will take everything that you've just said as well in the notes for the episode, so you can, if anyone that's listening right now, can just like go and look in the notes and click through anything. And yeah, I am sure that we'll be seeing lots more of you as it's already started to just show up everywhere I seem to be shopping. So congratulations on everything
Thank
that you're
you.
doing, and thank you for the
Thank you.
messaging that you're spreading. And we are here to cheer you on as you keep going down this road.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank
All
you so
right.
much for what you're doing. And I will say, like, great job, providing the space for people to life is challenging, like to say the least. Life is challenging. So you being in that space and helping people to get better, and seeing the bright side of life and their potential, and you are in a very very, I would say, essential space, and thank you for doing that, and keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. We're really, really, really grateful for people like you.
Thank
So
you. I
yeah, God
appreciate
bless you.
that. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. Thanks, Newman.